Hello and welcome to this tutorial, and let's see our network diagram. So here it is, our proxy servers, routers and our LAN users. So at first what we are going to do is see the IP address of the system on which we are going to install the Squid proxy server. So press in if config and see we got our IP as 192.168.0.254, and then we'll go to putty and then do an SSH of the IP address, and our first intention will be to create the second partition. So we'll gain access of the root user and proceed with the further installations. So first we are going to issue the command to see what are the volumes here. So as we can see here, SDB is the new volume here, and after we have seen that, we'll make a directory data which will use later to mount the HDB volume. Then we'll allow the permission to to 777, which means that all users can access the data folder, and then we'll create a partition, that is ext partition with the command mkfs.ext3, and then our volume name, that is dev stb. Then we'll create an entry in the fs tab by doing nano etc fs tab, and we'll add our new partition, that is sdv, and its mount location, that is data, and extension type ext3. So after that we are going to create our new folder, that is cache, to store the cache files and datas in the data folder. And also similarly, like previously we did with the data folder, we'll allow it as give the permission 777 so that all the users can access it. We can also verify our partition by pressing df and then enter, and all the partitions in your system will be listed, and there we can see that sdb is mounted in data/data, and that means the partition creation is successful and our second hard disk is fully now we have completed the installation or the initialization of a second hard disk. We will proceed to the installation of the Squid proxy server. Now let's talk about the network configuration we are going to have in this scenario. So as you can see, we have the internet cloud, and then we have a home router, that is a DSL router, or you can use your own cable router, something like that, and its LAN IP is 192.168.0.1. We'll be requiring only the LAN IP, so I have not mentioned here about its WAN IP. So from the DSL router or your modem, it's connected to the MicroTik server as well as to the Squid proxy server's WAN interface, and the Squid proxy server's LAN interface is directly connected to the MicroTik's Squid interface or the proxy interface. MicroTik server, here we have three interfaces, one for the WAN interface, LAN interface, and one for dedicated proxy interface. And the user data or user network is connected to the LAN interface of the MicroTik router. So what happens here is that the users who have the IP range of around 192.168.100.0, when they request for any web page, it passes through the transparent proxy Squid server, and before passing through that, its packets or its HTTP packets, that is port 80 traffics, are marked in the MicroTik router, and those traffic is forwarded to the Squid proxy server. If the cache is available in its hard disk, then the data is fetched from locally from the Squid cache, else it connects to the WAN interface and then the data is fetched. So if there is a cache hit, the data is served locally from the Squid cache at a LAN speed, and if not, if there is a cache miss, then it's served from the internet like normal browsing. So basically the packet marking and all this and the traffic forwarding is done by the Mikrotik Router OS, and the Squid here acts as a transparent proxy, so that the user don't need to do any change on their side, on the client side. Even the user sometimes don't know about the presence of a transparent proxy server in the network. It's totally transparent. So let's install the Squid server, that is apt-get install Squid, and it will automatically fetch the Squid installation file and install it in our system. And after the Squid installation is completed, then we have to modify some basic configuration in the squid.conf, that is the Squid configuration file for the working of a system, and then we'll configure the IP addresses as required for the operation. And the IP address references you can get in the network diagram, which I have shown you just a moment before. So let's wait for the Squid installation to complete, and then we'll proceed with the further installation. So installation is almost finished, and it's done. So now we are going to edit the interface configurations, that is the network interface configurations, and put in the IP address as required. So first we'll change our WAN IP address, and first we'll add the secondary LAN IP LAN interface, that is a LAN interface. Okay, the ETH1 is the LAN interface here, so please keep in mind ETH1 is a LAN interface and ETH0 is a WAN interface. So ETH1 IP address will be static, and we'll give it as .50.50, and we'll just provide the IP address and the net mask for the ETH1 interface, that is a LAN interface only. And after that we'll configure the ETH0's IP to 192.168.0.50 and configure its net mask, DNS name servers, etc. And also the gateway. Don't forget to mention the gateway is the IP address of your DSL router or your cable modem you have at your home premises. So after the network configuration, we'll restart the networking service for the change to take place. And after we have finished, we'll automatically get disconnected from the PuTTY session as the IP has already changed. So we'll log into the new IP address 0.50 and we'll close the previous PuTTY session. So let's get the root access, sudo su, and then we'll use the password for the user. So let's edit the squid.conf file. The main changes we need to do is our cache directory. We have already created our cache directory, that is /data, and we'll write the same, that is cache_directory, and the location, that is data/cache. And then we'll move to our ACL local net so as to allow the 192.168.0.100 range to get access to the Squid server. And then we'll just remove the hash from the access, allow local net option. Then we'll move to the port option, we'll change it to 8080 and give it and write transparent, as we are setting up the transparent proxy and not a normal manual proxy. Then we'll save at say exit changes. Then at first we have to stop Squid to initialize the cache directory, so service space squid 3 space stop, and then we will initialize the swap directories by pressing squid space -z, and it will initialize the cache swap directories. As you can see, it has access to the /data/cache folder. So after it has done, we will start the service. Now we have to make some changes in the rc local. rc.local means the script which will run at the start of the system. So what we'll do is proceed with the sudo space nano/etc/rc.local, and we'll add some routing information in the file so that the transparent proxy system works properly. One of the routing system will be to redirect all 192.168.100.0 traffic through the ETH1 interface and use 192.168.50.254, that is the IP address of the MicroTik router's proxy interface, as the gateway. And then we'll exit and restart our system. Now let's log into our MicroTik router with the username and password, and first we'll see the IP address. First we'll set up the IP address of the of an interface, that is let's see. So we'll add address. We are going to add the address of the to the WAN interface of the MicroTik router. So add address equals to the your IP address, and interface will be equals to ether1. So we'll connect to the Winbox, and then we'll change the name of the interfaces for better administration. So we'll give it as WAN interface, then the second the ether2, the Squid, similarly the other interfaces too. Now let's configure the IP address for individual interfaces. Only the WAN interface is configured. Let's configure about the LAN interface, that will be 192.168.100.254/24 network. So after that we'll configure the Squid interface, 192.168.50.254 interface. Now after the interface IP configuration is done, we'll configure the DNS for our MicroTik router, and for simplicity we'll use the DNS server of the Google public DNS servers, and we'll check allow remote request on, so as it can act as a DNS server to the MicroTik router. Then we'll add some route. First we'll add the route to our DSL modem, so that the traffic can be forwarded through the gateway 192.168.0.1, and then we have to add some firewall rules, both for transparent proxy settings and for packet marking options. So after routing is finished, we'll go to IP firewall, and then we'll add a mangle rule. So in the mangle rule, we'll mark the HTTP packets which will be passing through the port, and we all know HTTP uses port 80, so we'll mark 80 and mark routing, and we'll write HTTP or any equivalent or meaningful name. So after it is finished, we'll place apply and OK, and then we'll add NAT rule to allow natting in our interfaces. Since our out interface will be WAN, so we have to select. Now we are going to add a second NAT rule, that select destination port as port 80, and we have to create it. So we have finished adding our rules, and then we have to add a new route, that is to our the route redirection to the proxy's transparent Squid proxy server, and 50.50 is the address of the Squid server, and routing mark will be HTTP, the packet marks for the destination port 80. So we have completed the installation, and then we'll do some testing. And this is a client system running Windows XP, and it has IP address of 192.168.100.200 and gateway as 192.168.254. that is the LAN interface IP address of the MicroTik router. So we'll load some website. So we can see sorry, the TCP miss and hit in the Squid log. And how can you get the Squid log? I have already mentioned it in the system. So you can see 100.200 is there, and it's a TCP hit. So we can see it's working, and I don't have any manual proxy configuration up here in the system. It happens automatically. As the user browses port 80 traffic, it gets HTTP traffic gets redirected to the Squid server.